next month and the months forward, we'll be going back to, I believe it's about 8 a.m. So we're just going to go ahead and hit recording. Did you just do that? I
just did, yeah.
Perfect.
Welcome to the call, everybody.
Yeah, welcome to the call. We are very, very excited today because we've got a wonderful agenda that we are going to take you through. First up, we have an interview. We're so lucky. I emailed Deni through the week and asked her if she'd be on this webinar for us today. She needs to go first because she has to be somewhere else. So we're so fortunate to listen to Deni, and we'll bring her on very, very shortly. And then we're going to go through some recognition. There's a lot of people we need to recognise for the cruise, as well as we'll look at fantastic achievements and rank advancements. And we will also go into an interview. We are so lucky. We've got Alan Noble on the call today too. So we're thrilled, absolutely thrilled to be listening and learning more about Alan. We're going to run through a brief quick start training. We're going to have a look if there's time at an Eric Bell video, and then we'll cover upcoming events. But first of all, we wanted to welcome all of you to today's Builders Global Training. We're excited to put this on monthly. And what we'll ask you to do, there's a few people who haven't had an opportunity to mute their microphones, or we'll potentially do it for you. If you can stay muted until you are in a position where you can talk, then unmute yourself when that time arrives. But we're just looking for the muting everyone now. We can't find it. Anyway, so stay muted. That'd be great. And first up, Deni, are you on the line?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, there she is. Hi, Deni.
And congratulations, super congratulations. Presidential Diamond, only 2 in the whole company. Just done an amazing job. Definitely led by example.
We are so happy for you.
Thank you. It's all because of the incredible team. You know, this doesn't happen this is not a singular achievement. This is just because of lots of incredible people. And so thank you very much.
Well, you're an amazing woman, a fierce leader, and we're so excited for the new people on today's webinar, especially who don't know you, as well as existing associates who've seen you in Australia and around the traps to learn a little bit more. So thank you very much for coming on. I know I emailed you and said I could do a happy dance when you said that. So thank you.
Me too. I can't get enough of you guys either. So
thanks, Deni. There probably isn't an award at ASEA that you haven't won yet. You certainly have really achieved so much, and we're so excited because where we wanted to start, I know you've featured with Eric Warray, and we'll cover a little bit of that when it comes to the most amazing women in network marketing. I think I've got that. Most amazing. Yeah. I think I might have that title quite wrong. But what I'd like to start to do, because I know you've got to move on, you've got other plans.
We just have a date, so.
You have a date. Oh, good for you. Oh, well, we'll still honour that. So, we were wondering what initially attracted you all those years ago into the network marketing industry.
Well, all those years ago, I really started in direct sales. Tom and I were married young. I graduated at 16, went to 2 years of college, and we got married. We had our first child before we were 20. And Tom was working highline construction, power lines. You guys, we lived in a 40-foot travel trailer. And it wasn't push buttons like the RV we have now. I had to like lift up the living room so he could catch it on the outside. And we would travel around, and we were living in a little town in Wyoming. And I actually went to a Tupperware party, and I was just 20 years old, and we didn't have a lot of money, but I wanted the stuff. And I found out that if you did 6 parties, you could get all the free stuff. And I thought, well, that's what I want to do. And I went to my first meeting, and I found out that managers drove company cars. And I said, well, that's what I want to do. And 2 months later, I had my first company car. Out of a little town in Wyoming. I did that for 10 years. We moved quite a few different times. Tom, we left Wyoming, went into Idaho, then we went into Utah, and then we had finished college, went to Seattle, and then came to Spokane. And it was direct sales, so I had to start my business each and every time in a cold market. So for those of you who think, well, I don't know a lot of people, I didn't know anybody. And I always rose to the top of the company in each place. And again, when I I would get to leave and I'd get to take my company car, which I had 10 of them, but I had to leave all of my people. And I remember being in Dallas with a bunch of us, and we said, if this was one of those network marketing things, we'd all be doing much better. Because even though I was a top manager in the nation, I promoted people as well who also drove company cars who actually did better than myself. Because during this time, I was having my 4 children. And after that is when Tom brought home a brochure from somebody, and it said this: if you're willing to do for a couple of years what others aren't willing to do, you can live the rest of your life like others only dream. And I thought, well, that's what I want to do. They, at that time, had offered Tom and I to own a Tupperware distributorship, and that really wasn't Tom's goal at that time. The men would go work behind a warehouse, and I loved the flexibility and freedom of being home with my children, and I would have had to put them in daycare. So that was my transition into network marketing, but I love the freedom, the flexibility. I remember we'd move into a house and I'd say, gosh, I'd like to remodel the kitchen. And he would say, well, if you pay for it, I'd be like, I can do that, because I loved the aspect of sales, because there's no ceiling on what you can earn. You can step up to the plate and apply yourself, grow a bigger team. And so from a very young age, I realized that the sky was the limit in this kind of an industry. And so that company I had gotten into, which you guys were involved as well, they had lost their way. And so hence when ASEA came my way 7 years ago, I kept saying to myself, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. And really, as I sat with those men that day, 7 years ago in December, I didn't understand all the science. For all of you on the phone, I tell people I've got a PhD, a public high school diploma and 2 years of college. I'm not a scientist, but 14 years ago, this past winter, my one daughter actually, she had cancer, and I can say that because it had nothing to do with ASEA. But I went on a very aggressive search and did some holistic things as well, fought with the doctors. They were screaming at me, pounding on the table. And so and she's a beautiful, healthy 26-year-old who's a bronze associate, you guys, making over $3,000 a month now. But when I asked Gary Samuelson, what would this stuff do for this kind of condition, disease, or malady, when he leaned on the table that day, Trish Winkler and I came to the company on the same day and said, Deni, does what you're describing have a cell involved? I said, I get it, I'm in. Because I truly believe that there was nothing more impactful or important that I could do with my life. And you know what? I'm so grateful that I listened to that voice inside of me, because that's exactly what's happened, Melissa. Nothing more impactful, more important, that has changed our life beyond belief, beyond my wildest imaginations. And as Bart and I have talked about before, to truly live a life of significant contribution, I just can't imagine a better way to live.
We know thanks, Deni. We know you're very driven by helping people, by leading by example and inspiring people. And when it came to your first introduction into the network marketing model, it would be fair then to say that you picked up very quickly what residual income is actually all about.
Oh, absolutely. My father had sold insurance as well and raised 7 children. So he was around. So I really liked that model. And he also had some very entrepreneurial friends as well. So that's what the kind of atmosphere I was raised in, with real entrepreneurs.
And when it came to being with the founders of ASEA, and when you flew out to the first meeting with Trish 7 years ago, I think you said, what was the defining moment? What was it? Was it what you have already described when it comes to understanding cellular health, which has helped you to convert to ASEA? Like, why did you choose ASEA? Because there's 3,000 network marketing companies to choose from. Why did you choose this one?
Great question. I'd been approached because of what I had done, and I'd sat through so many presentations for years. I never got involved in the juice wars, and I'm all about nutrition and being healthy. But to me, I just never got involved in that, wanting to say my ORAC value is higher than yours, or mine's better than yours because we have this much extra stuff in it. That really didn't intrigue me. But for me, it was the cellular health. Again, long before my little girl had lumps and bumps manifest on the outside of her body, she had things going awry on the inside. And so when I heard about this, I just thought, if you don't fix the cell, you can never get well. And if this is a product that really should have only been by prescription only, I kept thinking, this is my Microsoft moment. And as I've driven to Seattle many times, I thought it truly was my Microsoft moment. And how easy it would have been for me to just go, it's too hard, it's too difficult. I want you guys all to see right here. I'm actually in Tom's conference room at his office in Spokane. There's really only, let's see, there's only 8 chairs, big chairs around it. So I could fit maybe 12 people in here. So this is where it all started. I used to use a projector and project right over here on the wall, and I would have a luncheon once a week. And I'd bring in a sandwich and put it on the table and slice it real thin. And we would invite people to come hear about a breakthrough technology, which was having dramatic results in people's health and well-being and athletic performance, and lunches included. Would you like to come? And again, you guys, I didn't have to do ASEA. I put Tom through school and graduate school. I always tell people, sometimes we need to make the cake and you need to make the icing. Well, I used to have to make the cake, and I used to tell Tom, I'll make the icing, because who doesn't need more icing in their life? There's children have expenditures and everything kind of comes up. And really when I got into ASEA, I thought, wouldn't it be fun if I could, even make a few $1,000s extra a month? But truly, you guys, once you understand that any money that you make with ASEA will be in direct reflection to lives changed. So actually at this point in time, Tom, my accountant husband, will often say, Deni, do you understand? Do you know how much money you're making? And I'll be like, but let me tell you about this story about this person that this has helped or whatever. Because I often tell people, in the beginning, you might get into network marketing for the money, which is great, you guys. Hey, money ranks right up reasonably close to oxygen. You've got to have it. Every time you go to the grocery store, they're going to ask you for money. And but then it will start to be about the freedom and the lifestyle, that we've been able to create and to be able to go and do. We were in California last weekend on the beach doing meetings. We've been in Australia, which we love, and I'm begging to come back soon. But in the end, you guys, it's really about the lives you'll change, about making a significant contribution. Because in network marketing, the goal of all of this is to plant a seed and water it, take care of it, that will grow into an incredible tree that will leave shade for generations. I planted a seed with Chuck and Tammy, who then planted one with Ed, who then shared it with you, who you've shared it with Deni. And again, the lives that you're changing you don't even know the profound effect that's going to have. You're leaving shade for families that and I even know some of the stories of the lives you changed. And I believe that the 2 major issues we all suffer with while we're on this planet are our health and our finances. And I know that without a shadow of a doubt, each of us on this call have something that can make a dramatic result in people's lives.
Well spoken, Deni. I know when it comes to getting started, like you've shown in terms of where you started there in Spokane, Washington, I know you're a huge believer when it comes to starting your ASEA business, or probably any business you've done in the past, of setting really big, audacious goals. You're definitely someone to get organised, who's organised, because you knew right from the very beginning in your business how many people were coming in every week. You knew what was happening down both legs. You set goals to grow your business to 10% every week, which is massive. I just would like, if it's okay for you, to enlighten us a little bit more about getting down to the nuts and bolts of developing your business when it came to being organised enough to know what was going on in your organisation and where you needed to be strategically.
Absolutely. From all my years of doing Tupperware, and we didn't have computers then, I've always kept a day timer. And so when I got involved, when I really engaged 6 years ago. 6 years ago in January is when I started these meetings, because that first year we were busy building a new home. So we started doing a once-a-week luncheon in this building around the middle of January. Now in January, I hit bronze once, but I was really a Director 700. So I kind of went into all-out massive action. Of course, you guys, the incredible diamond thing was in my head, but I didn't know how to be a diamond. I used to have the compensation plan, by my bed, and I would read it at night, and all I really knew was how to become a bronze, because I figured If I can get to bronze and I can help other people get there, I figure I can get anywhere in the compensation plan. I didn't understand PG 50. I didn't understand that. So we went in all out massive action that January. I went bronze the end of January. And then we just started doing a lot of what we call now the Fast Forward program. We called it something else then. And we duplicated so fast. So the faster that you can get into your organization, again, if you want to be a professional in this business, amateurs look at a new associate as a destination. Woohoo, I sponsored someone with 4-8 cases. That's where the work begins. What you really want to do is open that door and look at them as a destination. Because for the people that always say, well, I don't know anybody else, well, that means you haven't gotten in to that person's warm market. Because if you're always getting into the people's warm markets, you'll never run out of people to talk to. And we were doing so many of the Fast Forward programs that we were exponentially growing so quickly. So we went from, silver, gold in March, platinum in May, diamond in July, but that only happens when you have a lot of people engaged doing the same activity. So I used to write in my day timer, how many people I had right and left, how many people were sponsored on the right and then on the left. And when I first got started, someone told me, I said, well, what should I be looking for? What's a good gauge? And they said, Deni, if you can grow by 10% a week, that's fantastic. And you guys, in the beginning, that's really easy. Think about it. If you've got a new organization and you have 10 people on one of your legs, you only have to grow by one person. Hopefully, that is you doing the sponsoring, right? And so then when it's up to 20, you've got to have 2. So that was my goal every week, that I had to be creating those numbers or working through my people to help my people grow their organizations as well. And so because you can look at your dashboard because it's going to give you a 4-week look back, but I wanted to see what my numbers were, from 2 months back or even 3 months back, and look at the growth of my organization. So again, but I do have big audacious goals, you guys, but goals are simply activities. So I look at my goal and then go, what are the activities I'm going to have to do? And then, of course, what groups can I go to work in? Who wants to put on their overalls and go to work with me? So again, you have to take the focus off yourself and go, who wants to play with me as well? Now, if those people don't want to play, that means you probably just don't have the right people. So you're always putting people in the pipeline, and you're loving on everybody. And as Jim Rohn would say, you can work with 1,000 people, but you can't carry 3 on your back. That's why it's so important to use the tools and systems that we have here in place. You guys, I was telling my girlfriend, Vicky, you guys, I think she's 68. She's my good friend who I got started with 6 years ago. It was just her and I walking around Spokane, talking about salt water from Salt Lake City that tastes like pool water, And I said, Vicky, what were we thinking? We didn't have anybody here. There was no meetings. There was nothing to plug into. There really wasn't it was still so new. We had Alan Noble's call on Tuesday nights, but what was it? Somehow we had this vision in our head of what this could be. I want you to all know there should be no question in any of your minds. Does ASEA work? Well, it works, you guys. It works. There's no trial on that. We were only open in the U.S. We are now operating in 30 countries around the world. There should be no question, are people going to advance in this company? We've got 2 presidential diamonds now. And just so you're all aware, they're 2 blonde housewives, okay? You don't have to be a doctor. And then, again, there should be no question that there's money to be made here in ASEA, because we have people making money at all different levels. And again, some people just want to make a car payment, a house payment, whatever. There's an income level for whatever output level you'd like to be involved in.
And just to let everyone know, Deni definitely walks her talk. So you've just developed another, was it Frontline Diamond in your organization?
Yep, he just went, I just developed another Frontline Triple Diamond this week.
Congratulations.
And then another Frontline Platinum too.
Wow, that is fantastic. And the reason why I bring that up is because you're still in the trenches. You're obviously a presidential diamond, but you're in the trenches because you care about people and you want them to experience what you've experienced, and you put them first. So just wanted to point that out. When you get to the upper ranks, it's not about stopping and sitting there and admiring the view, even though there's more opportunities to do that. It's about helping everybody else to get to where you're at, which I know completely drives you. And I have one last question, Deni. So in this business, as we know, when we start out, there's fantastic days and there's not so great days. And when people are starting to develop the belief in the 4 areas themselves, in network marketing, in the products and in the company, what has kept you motivated? What drives you? What do you focus on?
You know, what's really always fueled me as well is I've traveled the world with Vertus Norton. I remember asking Vertus, why are you doing this, one time when he came to Spokane? And literally we then jumped in my car, and with Karen Riley and my son, we drove through a blizzard to get to Helena, Montana to go see Chuck and Tammy. And you guys, many of you guys know he likes McDonald's. I think we stopped at McDonald's 4 times on the way. And I just said, Vertus, why are you doing this? Here you are, you've flown, you know, jets around the world, eaten in the finest cuisine in the world. And, you know, why are you doing this? And he said, you know, Deni, I've often thought about that. I've already left my family a fortune. Now I'm going to leave the world a legacy. Mm-hmm. And I remember that morning, one time in Helena, we were having breakfast and he grabbed my hand. I was, you know, just asking, and he just said, you know, tears. He's like, Deni, I just want you to know I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't believe with this with every, you know, every ounce of my being. And so it's just really become my mission to make that vision come to fruition. And I think I'm driven by achievement, not against anybody else, but I've always believed that, you know, all of us are our source. He put us a light bulb inside of us that when we all burn at different wattages, right? I believe that. But I've always wanted to just live at the level of my creation. And I believe that when your purpose and your passion alive, my passion is health and wellness. It truly is. After having a daughter that we almost lost, health is wealth. And, you know, I don't care how much money you have, you would spend it all on a loved one, you know, and none of us are going to get out of alive. And, you know, I always say, do you want to live longer or do you want to die longer? I want to live longer, and I want to help people live longer, you know, to the level of their creation and enjoy their life. And I see that happening with people. I see the lives that this changes with the product, but I also see the passion that this business brings back for people, the life that it gives to people, and the life because they're making a significant contribution in the lives of other people. I just think that's such a beautiful way to live, Melissa.
Oh, thanks, Deni. You're such an inspiration to all of us. And I do want to sneak in one last question, even though I said that a few minutes ago. Oh,
you know what? I'm fine. You guys are fine. I mean, this is important. With the life we get to live, we get to be on dates all the time. So that's good.
Very important. So what advice would you give to brand new associates starting out with ASEA?
You know, you guys, you have to make a decision. Is this what is it I really want? You're going to have to spend some time with yourself, and it can't be a monetary goal, you guys. It's got to be, you know, when they say a why that makes you cry, it doesn't have to make you cry, but it's going to have to get you up in the morning. It's going to have to, you know, you're going to have to do this. I heard you guys, there's a storm, right? You're going to have to do this on sunny days, rainy days, snowy days, when it's not so fun to do days. And it's all about being consistent, because you can't do this sometimes. I promise you that. I'm very good about being persistent and consistent, because it's those daily activities, that daily mode of operation that's going to get you where you intend to be. You know, many of you know the story of Debbie Wetzler. She only had 20 minutes a day, and now she's a multiple 6-figure earner with this company. So right in the beginning, if you're getting started, again, I want you to have big, audacious goals, but I also need you to break it down. And I find that family is something that, you know, really drives most of us. So, and of course, your kids are going to have to be engaged. So if you've got a young family, you guys, make a goal where in 2 months' time, you're going to take the family on a weekend trip. and let them buy into that and be engaged in that. The other thing is, when I put Tom through college and graduate school, having to make the money to pay the bills I don't think it's very fun. So what I have always done is every trip, every incentive, I have always earned it, because we didn't have money for the extra stuff. And so you're actually getting paid twice, because you're earning these incredible trips, incredible incentives. And then what happens because of that, you're doing the right business building behaviors, and then you're making the money, and the team is growing and flourishing. And more than that, you're leading from the front. I will never ask anybody to do anything that I haven't done successfully, am currently doing, because that's really important. You'll often hear me talk as well. I listen with my eyes. A lot of people talk, or they'll say, they come in and go, you're never going to sponsor anybody else because I'm going to do this. And the next week they're in the witness protection plan. So I listen with my eyes by the activities and the steps that they take. But what is that goal? I have things written down. When I run, I'll think about them, but then it goes all about goals and affirmations into activities. That's simply what they are.
And I know, Deni, just finishing up, you once, I read an article where you once said, become the person you hope to find. And you've very, very much done that. Your testimony to that statement. And we are so fortunate that you're in our upline, and that we've been able to benefit so much from your wisdom and your leadership. And we absolutely love that you lead by example. And like you said, you wouldn't expect anyone to do what you haven't already done. So we are very grateful that you've been on today. Thank you so much for sharing your openly and honestly with us about your experiences, and congratulations again about going Presidential Diamond. We're so happy for you, Deni.
Yeah,
thanks.
Absolutely.
And we would love to have you come down to Australia anytime in the next 6 to 12 months.
She already said she's on for February.
We're on. We were missing. We were talking this last month, going, we sure had fun last February. That was really, really fun. We loved you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Deni. Enjoy your date with Tom and give him our love.
I will. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Deni.
Thanks, Deni.
So there you go. We're so fortunate to be able to listen to Deni, and no doubt you've learned a couple of tidbits that you can really take from Deni in terms of moving forward after today's call, and use her as a real instrument of strength. And what I'd like to do, I know we've definitely got Alan on the line because it's getting late in Texas, so I'm going to skip a little bit ahead. And Alan, if you're actually available now, we'd love to have you come on and share with us too, because Alan is actually sponsored Trish Schwenkler, and Trish sponsored Deni. So Alan is Deni's upline. And let's just see if we can get him, otherwise I'll skip to some...
There he is.
There he is.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Alan. Thanks.
How are you doing? How am I supposed to follow Deni Robinson, huh?
I know. She's a hard act. Let me just go back here. There you go. But you know what, Alan? You are very famous. You're the Mr. Amazing Molecules. And when we actually first made a decision to jump into ASEA, we went along, as you know, to the soft launch of Australia. And I don't think if you were there, we probably wouldn't have had the same level of belief that we did have moving forward. So we're eternally grateful, and we are so excited that you could come on today, and for us to learn more about you and for Australia. I know you've got other frontline here on the call today as well, for us to get to know you a bit better. So how have you been handling being a full-time dad this last week? You look good.
What did you say? Handling?
Being a
full-time dad, yeah. Hey, look, there's the freedom of this incredible industry. My wife, Tanya, went back to Ireland to see her parents for a week. And I don't have to get babysitters in. I am the babysitter, you know. So I got to go on just full-time daddy duty with my two beautiful girls who are 5 and 8. And, you know, I got to tell you, I loved it. We went for picnics, and we went to see Beauty and the Beast, and we cooked pizzas at home, and we did all the school runs and the swimming and everything else, and I continued to squeeze this business into the cracks of the day. So tremendous. I mean, it's such a flexible business. It's one of the things I love about it. Great for families.
It really is. We're not kids, but we actually went along and saw Beauty and the Beast too. So we loved it. So I'm glad you took the girls to see that. So what I was thinking, Alan, I know I put out a video actually in a newsletter to let people know that you're going to be on this week, and it had a little bit about your background in terms of studying international finance in Belfast at Queen's University, and then really when you transitioned out of there, you became a world traveller. You travelled, goodness, to so many amazing countries. You witnessed life on such a big level. And then I know that you have been someone that really coined the phrase, as far as we're concerned, about being psychologically unemployable. So do you mind expanding into that a little bit and how you transitioned into the network marketing industry from there?
Yeah, sure. So, you know, when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, there were two things I was good at. One was music. I'm a classically trained flute player. If we had time, I could break out the tin whistle and we could do a few jigs. But, you know, one thing was music, the other thing was math. And quite often they seem to go hand in hand, math and music. And so those were kind of my two gifts. And I decided I didn't want to be a broke musician all my life. So I went and studied finance and economics and accountancy. And that's what I did in college. And I went to one of the finest schools in Ireland, and I graduated top of my class. And I don't say that to boast or brag, but to simply state, look, I was in a position to pretty much walk into any career I wanted in financial management, you know, fund management, financial analysis, stockbroking, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, there was just a lot of my classmates were super excited about, you know, their new careers and all the interviews they were going on. I was kind of really procrastinating about it. There was something in my gut. I just had this nauseous feeling. It was like this nervousness that I wasn't really ready to move forward into the next stage of my life, to be an adult and all grown up and go get into the you know, 40 hours a week for 40 years of your life for the $40 gold watch at the end of it. And for me, freedom was important. I'd already, you know, traveled all around Israel. I'd worked on a kibbutz in Israel and then traveled down Egypt. I'd been all around Europe. I had dug ditches in Latvia and traveled around Russia and the Soviet Union. I actually went to these places right when they were collapsing. I was in the Soviet Union when it collapsed. I was in Israel when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. And I think it's the Belfast blood in me. I just kind of brings it out in me, you know, it follows me around. So be careful when I come to Australia next.
Yeah.
But then, so I was in this place and I thought, you know, I just love my freedom. And I put on a backpack and I said, you know, I'll figure this out when I get back. And I traveled the length of Africa, 22 countries in Africa. And I sat with the mountain gorillas and I traveled down part of the Kisangani River in the middle of the Congo with alligators and monkeys and all sorts of things going on. And it was just an amazing experience. Went on some safaris and did some things, microlighted over Victoria Falls, and then got all the way down to Cape Town, did top to bottom. Went down to Cape Town and climbed Table Mountain and looked out over the beautiful view and flew back home, ready to move on with the next set of my life. And I was just as confused as when I left. Didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So I did what you do, which is get on the academic treadmill, and I started a master's in finance. And it was right at that time that I was given a little book called The Boom Business of the 90s. And this was like 1993, I think now at the time. And this little book is about the same size as Dr. Gary Samuelson's little Science of Healing Revealed book, quick read. And it's the only book I've ever read from cover to cover in one sitting, okay? And I read that book and it explained the basic concepts of network marketing, of a business that you could get started with very, very little upfront capital, that you didn't need to know a whole lot, you didn't need a whole lot of skills, you just needed a whole lot of desire. And I learned the concepts of leveraged income, of earning beyond yourself. I learned the concepts of residual income. Now here's a finance major and I'm now out of this little book learning the concepts of residual income. You know, one of the most residual income and leveraged income, two of the absolute most basic wealth creation principles known to men. And they didn't teach me this in one of the finest finance colleges in the UK and Ireland. You know, something wrong with that picture, but that's another story. And so I learned this through learning about the industry of network marketing. And in that moment, I said, this is what I want to do with my life. This is my career. I'd find it. So I quit my master's, and I thought I was going to be, this was probably, I'm guessing it must have been about September or so. And I thought by Christmas I was going to be a millionaire. I thought I'd find my five, and they'd find their 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 five, and we're done. It didn't quite work like that, but that was the beginning. And it was just this incredible way that somebody like myself that had that entrepreneurial drive, but I didn't have the funds to set up my own business. I was getting by teaching kids the flute, you know, and yet network marketing allowed me to step into this massive world of entrepreneurship and succeed. So that was the journey. That was the beginning.
So how did ASEA find you?
So what happened there, I'd kind of developed over the time. To fast forward here, I'd now come to the States. I'd lived in Manhattan for a year and a half. I then lived in Dallas, and then I yo-yoed between Dallas and Denver a couple of times. And I had kind of developed a love-hate relationship with network marketing. I still love the business concepts that I fell in love with back in the early 90s, but I'd got a little disillusioned with some of the companies, with some of the vehicles in that industry. And I'd really come to the place where I'd stepped out of the industry. And I heard Deni referencing, you know, Juice of the Month Club, and my ORAC score is better than your ORAC score. And I was in the same place. I felt the two things I was looking for was, number one, an exceptional product. I got tired of mediocrity. There are thousands of companies. There are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of products. And there are some good products, and there's even a handful of great products. But for me, I was looking for something truly exceptional. You know, I wanted to go tell a story that had never been told before. I was tired of regurgitating the same old, and trying to explain why, you know, my type of product was better than somebody else's version of it. And I was just looking for something new, something different, something that could impact the body in a powerful way, because I'm naturally a teacher. That is my gift, is to teach. I'm not a salesperson. And so for me, it truly has to come from the heart. You know, I can't sell ice to the Eskimos. I have to absolutely believe that I'm bringing to the marketplace the very best. And to some people in network marketing, that's not important for them, but it was important for me. So the first thing was I was looking for an exceptional product. The second thing is I had seen enough of the good, bad, and the ugly that I knew that you could have the greatest product in the world, but if you do not have the right company holding that product, it's as good as useless. And so I realized that I had to find a company that had integrity, that had long-term vision, that had good business skills, et cetera, et cetera. I'd seen way too many companies go up and come down and go up and come down. And I was tired of that ride. And so for about almost 8 years, I stepped out of the industry full time. Now, I would occasionally dip my toe back in the water and realize that it wasn't right for me. Those two things weren't met, you know? So in 8 years, I was out of the industry full time, did other things, other entrepreneurial endeavors, never got a job. My claim to fame is I've never had a job. We got by, whether it was teaching flute to 6th graders or starting my own web company or financial company or whatever, but we got by. And then back in February of 2009, my dad actually got sick with a very, very serious health challenge. And he went on a course of treatment with his doctors that after 3 months had not improved the situation and had actually created the potential for maybe permanent lung damage, very toxic treatment. And so the doctor's saying you need to do another 3 months of this, but you may have permanent lung damage. Now, my father was 76 at the time, windsurfing in the Atlantic Ocean in his Speedo. You know, it wasn't pretty, but he was out there doing it. And amazing man. I mean, just he truly incredible. But he called me, and I'll never forget the phone call. And it was just this depressed sounding voice of, look, this is what I have to do. And I said, look, Dad, just take a break. Tell your doctors you need to take a break. And I am going to go on an aggressive search, and I'm going to find something that can really tap into and harness the healing power that I believe exists in all of us. And up to that point, really, nutrition had been my only sphere of knowledge. But I believe when your intentions are strong, the universe responds. And within 2 weeks, I first heard the words redox signaling. I'd called a friend of mine, Sue Brenchley, who I had known from another company that I dipped my toe in the water, and I was actually calling about their product. Even though I didn't like the company, I said, hey, what about that product? Would that be any good for my dad? And she says, well, wait, there's something even better coming. I know the company's still just kind of getting ready, getting launched, but just wait. I'm meeting a doctor next week. I think she was probably referring to Samuelson. You know, just wait, just wait. And so I remember waiting, and after about a week or so, I said, listen, this is personal. This is not business. If you know something that can help my father, I need to know. And so I first heard the words redox signaling molecules. And I was so intrigued about what I heard. We didn't get it. There were no PowerPoint presentations. There were no conference calls. There were no studies done, except our safety study. That was it. But there was something intriguing. Molecules that help your cells function better. And everything is cellular. Well, I may be Irish, but I can join those dots, you know? And so within 5 days, I flew to Salt Lake City. I didn't qualify for fly-ins. I was out of the industry too long. You know, I was Joe Nobody. And so I flew into the company on my own dime, and I sat down with the founders of the company, and I sat down with Dr. Gary Samuelson. I sat down with the only two corporate executives, Justin Wilson and Kurt Richards, who are still with the company today, which I think is a testimony to the kind of company we have here. And I got it. I got it straight away. And those two things that had eluded me for 8 years, all of a sudden came into focus. An amazing technology that reaches down into the most profound part of the human condition, and a company that absolutely I could trust, and had proven that through the Genesis story. You know, any company can type integrity on a PowerPoint slide. That's not difficult to do, you know. But to be able to actually point to the company's past and say, no, this company walked their talk. They put people ahead of the payout. They treat principles and integrity with great respect. They appreciate people. They have a love for people. There's a mission and a cause and a purpose behind this. That was what I wanted to align myself with. So I really felt back in what was then May of 2009, I'd finally found my princess. I'd had to kiss a few frogs on the journey, like many of us have, but I finally found my princess. And it's been the most remarkable. I can't believe it's almost 8 years. I just can't believe it, but it's been the most incredible journey. Just incredible.
Thanks so much for sharing that with us, Alan, because I know with what Deni alluded to as well, when the family members are affected health-wise, there is so much motivation and drive that's attached to doing whatever. As Deni said, you would spend everything that you own to help a family member. And so, I mean, goodness, your dad, how you couldn't have given a bigger gift to your dad. So that would have kept you motivated definitely for a long time and helped to really solidify your belief. And I was wondering if we could just shift a little bit to talking about the company. I know there are a lot of people on the line who wouldn't know what the Global Advisory Board's about with ASEA. And I know when you mentioned previous debuts with other companies when it comes to really picking out a company that in the network marketing industry that resonates with you. What's that experience been like being the chairman on the board of that committee? And if you don't mind just explaining a little bit to people who wouldn't know what that's about, just sharing
Sure.
something, that would be great.
Sure. Well, just to clarify one thing, I actually retired from the advisory council in May of 2016. I had been on every advisory council since the early makeshift councils of 2009. And so, you know, a tenure is only supposed to be maybe 2, maybe 3 years, and I was pushing almost 6.5 years on the advisory council. And so it was time to step off and let some fresh voices come on. And because we've got one of the beautiful things that's going on in ASEA is the incredible caliber of leadership that has so much drive and so many wonderful ideas, so much knowledge, experience. And so it was time to let that leadership shine and let this old dog take a step back a little bit. But I'll tell you a couple of things about that experience. First of all, in many cases, and you can talk to Trish about this, you could talk to Deni, to Terry Latham, to other members of the council, and they will say the same thing, that in prior councils with prior companies, they were treated like puppets. It was just a mouthpiece, where the company might fly them in the day before convention and say, we're going to give you 12, 24 hours advance notice on what we're going to share in convention, and you better get behind it. That was the advisory council. Well, that's more of a promotional council. There's nothing advisory in nature there. There's no back and forth. There's no discussion. There's no interaction. And so the first thing about our advisory council, it is truly, because this company started with a deep appreciation for the people. That is our culture. That is the character of ASEA: appreciation for people, appreciation for the associates. And so that continues through every single aspect of everything they do. And so there is a deep appreciation and respect in the advisory council, where the company really does listen to what's going on. There is true advisory. There is a real, look, give me your opinion, and that opinion comes back, and there's a discussion, and there's a partnership. And I think the best way to describe it is Tyler Norton, our great wordsmith. He teaches us that the word corporation comes from the Latin corpus, meaning body. Well, what would happen to our health if our heart starts arguing with our lungs who's more important? The heart saying, hey, lungs, I'm more important than you. And the lungs are going, no, you're not. I'm more important than you. If the heart and the lungs start fighting, you're not going to be able to experience very good health. Well, often in network marketing, if the corporation and the field start fighting and not acting as one unified body, the company will never achieve its destiny, ever. And so I believe that we have that beautifully synced, this relationship between the company and the field. And the advisory council is really where that meets. It's that middle ground where it meets. And so, the other thing you get to see is you get to rub shoulders with the company. We don't have a corporate teams from the founders to the CEO to the president to the vice presidents that live in ivory towers. These are very hands-on people. They're very accessible people. It's not a them and us situation. We are doing this all together. And when you interact at this close level with the CEO, with the president, the founder, what I can tell you is when the spotlights are turned off and the mics are switched off, they're the same people. They're exactly the same people. What they say on stage is who they are behind the scenes. And so it's important to have that. Look, our whole goal here, my personal goal here is that we're functioning strongly as a business and growing 20, 25, 30 years from now. Legacy is the key. There's plenty of bottle rockets in the industry that are up and down like fireworks. The key is finding that next great legacy company. And you got to have stable management with their feet in their ground, planted in integrity, and walking their talk. And if anything, that's what the advisory council has taught me about this company.
I know that I like your analogy of sometimes you got to kiss a few frogs before you find your prince.
I was actually thinking you were talking about Tanya when you said your princess before. But
some of us have been there, and if this is your first rodeo, man, you're so lucky to be able to be in ASEA, because some of us have been down the road of some challenges with other companies. But, you know, the one thing that's really impressed me, Alan, I mean, you mentioned that when you first got in, there wasn't anything. There wasn't any PowerPoints. There wasn't any, you know, studies and things. And we have an enormous amount to thank you for, because you've put together, you know, the Amazing Molecules website, some of the videos, and you're brilliant with PowerPoints, by the way. But so if you've, so I think everybody's familiar with Alan from those videos. But I wouldn't mind just sharing, because you really had a work ethic. You know, you treated this like a real business. This wasn't a hobby. You understood the value of treating this like a business and creating the residual income and momentum. And I've been really impressed with how you did start your business, because you had to work some crazy hours and do some crazy things from the other side of the planet, from Ireland, and working with your team. Do you want to just elaborate on that and really, you know, take the attitude of treating this, you know, how would someone take the attitude of being professional, treating it like a business, creating the vision and doing the work behind that?
Sure. Well, you know, just to bring up Tanya very quickly, I forgot to kind of mention her in the early part of the story, because when I brought that product home for my dad, Tanya had tremendous discomfort in her lower back and hips from the birth of our first daughter. And this was going on for 10 months. And I tried all sorts of products, different modalities, technologies, chiropractors, massage therapists, bought a new mattress. I mean, tried everything I could find, every antioxidant formula I knew of, and nothing worked. And she took 2 ounces of ASEA in the morning, 2 ounces in the afternoon. She woke up the next morning, zero discomfort. She was in the gym the next day, then working out again for the first time in about a year. Now that did 2 things. That was my first aha moment that, you know what, this product can do things that no other product can do, because it contains things that no other product contains. And that was where I got the first analogy of the light bulbs. It was from Tanya that, hey, I was coming home with light bulbs. Well, she didn't have a light bulb problem, she had a power problem. But when I came home with the power supply, it was like, boom, the lights came on. And we see that, we don't promise that, but we do see that in quite a few people that are taking all sorts of products, they're not noticing anything. And then it's like they hit the power switch and the lights come on. So 2 things happened there. Number one, my beautiful wife started to feel a whole lot better and could start being the mother that she wanted to be to our kid, to our new baby. But the second thing it did is it got her on my side, because now here I was wanting to leave the sensible world of business and go back into the crazy world of network marketing. And I'm fairly newly married. I've got a 10-month-old baby, and this was going to be a tough one to sell. Well, the product did it all for me, because her result, it was like, you need to go do this. And that was incredible, because as you know, and I admired both the 2 of you, the way you work together, it's absolutely fantastic when you can get that dynamic right. And, you know, Tanya doesn't work too much in the business, but, you know, she helps me with the most important stuff, the family. And it's, but tremendous support, amazing support. And she loves all of the ASEA crew. We go on these events, and they're like a second family to us. So they love Tanya as well. I think they like her more than they like me. So anyway, what was your question again?
It was about your kind of the crazy beginnings, because you were doing conference. Didn't you have to get up in the middle of the night?
Oh yeah. So what would happen? So look, I'll tell you. Here's the honest story. I was building a financial services company with a business partner. I was director of sales in that business that we'd put together, and I was building a nationwide sales team. And it was really tough, because we were starting a company from scratch, which meant I was the last to get paid. And I was in a place where I was really getting financially embarrassed. I mean, I can remember having to pay the rent on the apartment with Tanya's credit card. Now, she had left Ireland, left her job, left her family to marry this sucker here. And, you know, and we got this 10-month-old baby, and I'm trying to build this business, and we're just living on fumes. And, you know, for me, and I don't want to offend any woman here, but, you know, for me, I thought I was going to provide for her coming out here. She didn't have a visa that she could work here and get a teaching job or anything like that. And yet here's me now borrowing her credit card to pay the rent. And it was I was financially embarrassed. It even put a strain on our early marriage. It was a really, really tough time. And so when ASEA came along, and it had everything I'd ever been looking for in a network marketing company. It's like you just can't let it go. I mean, you don't let that go. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I think sometimes people focus on all the reasons why they can't do something. I'd been an entrepreneur long enough to realize all I needed to focus on the reasons I could do something, to focus on what I do have, not what I don't have. You know what? I don't have 8 hours a day. But you know what? I do have about an hour a day if I add up all the little cracks. Let's focus on that. You know, I don't have a whole, you know, fancy presentations, but the first thing I did was create a 3-minute sizzle call. That was the first simplest thing I could do, was create a little 3-minute sizzle call. So I used to then leave the office and purposely not take a lunch into the office so that I could make the excuse, because I'm doing all this undercover. You know, I'm supposed to be building this company and building sales teams and being a business partner. So I'm doing all this undercover. And so I got to tell you, I had some really bad bowel movements that I'd have to go up to the 5th floor and make secret phone calls. That I was always going to the bathroom. You know, well, I wasn't. I was actually making ASEA calls up on the 5th floor so nobody could hear me. We were on the 3rd floor. So I was up a couple so they couldn't hear me. And I was pacing around upstairs. They all thought I was going to the bathroom. But anyway, that's another point. But you look for the opportunities. You look for ways to weave this in. And I would literally, between stoplights, just getting 15 minutes home to grab a sandwich at a stoplight, I'd call a connection. I say, hey, listen, I found something. I'm really excited about it. You have 3 minutes right now. I want you to listen to something. And I would drive them onto the 3-minute sizzle call. I'd let them hear it. And I'd say, do you see why I'm excited? And then I quickly, after that, I built the first Amazing Molecules presentation, PowerPoint presentation, recorded it. And so I had to leverage tools because I didn't have time. And so even if I didn't know that tools were key, even if I didn't know tools were key to the duplication, I simply had no other choice because I did not have time. So I had to let the little preview calls, I had to let the presentations, and then I started building out a simple training site because I didn't have time to train people. And so it was a very simple boom, 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 boom. Preview call, presentation, get started. Preview call, presentation, get started. And it was just then, you know, this idea that a big business is taking people through a simple cycle of activity many, 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 many times. And so that's how it started. And so by September, I had handed in my resignation. I had trained my replacement in the month of September. And October, I left Denver and went back to Dallas. And in November, I went back to Ireland. And it's a long story, certain circumstances, but I went back to Ireland. And I was in Ireland then till February. And honestly, this is some stuff that most people have never heard. I don't always get into the details of this, so excuse me if this is kind of a long answer. But people are full of excuses, and I'm here to overcome their excuses. So November, December, and January, I'm back in Ireland. Now, I had just sponsored Trish Schwenkler in December, okay? And now I'm heading away. Well, you don't do that to a Trish Schwenkler, you know? And so now I'm staying up till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. If you hear Chuck and Tammy's story, they'll say there was a 3-way call with me 2 days before Christmas at 2 o'clock in the morning in Ireland. And I remember these critical calls that built the leadership, much of the old school leadership that we have today. But you just find ways to make it happen. And then I came back in February, and I stayed in a dingy little travel lodge just about a couple of miles away from the corporate head office. And Kurt and Justin used to drive past in the morning and pick me up, and sometimes take me into the company so I could make some phone calls, you know. And then I flew back, and then in order for me to fly back here in April, I came back permanently to Dallas. And by that time, I was then making $2,000 a week. I was making a 6-figure income. And so it was about a 10-month journey to 6-figure income, with every hurdle that you could imagine. And there's even some I haven't got into that are a little bit more personal, but every hurdle you could imagine, time-wise, geography-wise, financial-wise. But if you know what you got your hands on, you don't let it go, and you focus on what you do have, and forget about what you don't have, and that's the key.
I appreciate you getting, because every single person that's on this call, I'm sure everybody's got challenges. Everybody's got whatever it is. We all have our own soap operas going on. And, when you just look at, you're top of your class in financial industry and, world traveler, that sounds pretty romantic. It sounds pretty good. But, life just throws us some curveballs sometimes. So I appreciate you just getting, naked with us in a way, kind of getting honest is what's going on.
Telling you what a loser I was. Yeah, I'll tell you.
No, it's great. We really appreciate everything that you've done.
Yeah. We actually, none of us on this call today, Alan, would be here without you. If you hadn't made the decision to do what you've done, we would potentially not be here, very seriously. So we have an immense debt of gratitude to you for making the decision that you've made. I think you've got an easy job. You just have to hunt the Irish down all over the planet. You found a lot of them in Australia already, so your job's half easy.
We sent our best and brightest to Australia.
Oh, yes, you did. No, I just wanted to let you know also that the videos you've put together in the webinar you've created as well, that's been our lifeline. That's what we've used as the main tool to build our business.
I married an O'Keefe.
You did. So, so thank you again, Alan. Thank you for being on tonight. We're really excited to catch up with you at the convention in September, and also hopefully see you out in Australia really soon. So give our love to Tanya and the girls.
I will indeed. And hey guys, I want to congratulate you. I want to congratulate you on all your success, but even more so, I want to thank you for your tremendous leadership. Look, I bear the scars of being a pioneer. Everybody wants to be first. They don't know how difficult first is. And it can be a really rewarding place, but it comes with its own scars. You need strong shoulders and you need a spine of steel. And so I have respect for the pioneers of this business. And you guys and many in your team are tremendous, tremendous pioneers. And I cannot tell you how much respect I have for you and what you've done in this business. So if I was wearing a hat, I would take it off for you.
Yeah. You can pick up the flute instead.
On that note, just real quickly, you talked about being the pioneer in the beginning. Where do you see the future?
Oh, look, I'll answer that in one simple phrase. I kind of see this company moving in 7-year blocks. My first 7-year block is over. And I really do believe that what we have done in the last 7 years is lay the foundation. Now, some people might say, well, 7 years is a long time to lay a foundation. Most companies can do that in a year or two, granted, but most companies are simply bringing to the marketplace an extension to something that already exists. It's just a variation on a theme, okay? It's another vitamin, it's another blend, it's another proprietary whatever, but it's not a new category of science. When you're coming to the marketplace with this story that's never been told, literally a new category of science, the shelf in the health food store doesn't exist for this technology. We're dealing with something 10 to 15 years ahead of its time. And so when you truly do have a breakthrough like that, it takes longer to lay the foundation because you're not piggybacking on all of the companies that have come before you. And so I really do believe the last 7 years have been our foundational years. It's building that really solid foundation from which we can launch ourselves off. And again, we have never been obsessed with being the fastest kid in the block. And that might disappoint some people, but it doesn't me. I'm here for longevity. I find there's two types of networkers. There's the ones that like to date around a little bit, and then there's those that say, till death do us part. They want monogamy. This is it. And that was me. And so what's more important to me is, are we going to be healthy and strong and still cutting residual checks and shipping product 25 years from now so I can hand this business down to my daughters? That's what's important to me, is a legacy company. I've seen the bottle rockets come and go. They don't interest me. And so Chuck Funky, our CEO, he says, look, you can pull levers to make your company grow faster, but that doesn't mean longevity. We're focused on being here long term. So the last 7 years have been foundational years in this company. to lay the foundation to take us to the 100 million mark, which we all know is the trigger point into momentum. I believe the next 3 years in this company, 3 to 5 years in this company, will absolutely make the last 7 years look like we've been standing still. And there's many, many different factors why that is, but that's where I see this going. We are, it's such a cliche, I hate to even say it, that the timing is perfect, you know, but it truly is. This is the time that we call post-risk, pre-momentum. It's this beautiful sweet spot where we are still, I believe, the best kept secret in network marketing, but we're absolutely risk-free and rock solid. And to find that beautiful golden window of opportunity, that's where we are right now. And so, look, it's you know, I'll tell you, the first 7 years, I kind of slacked off a little bit. I was listening to Deni and I felt ashamed because she's such a dynamo. I kind of slacked off a little bit, but I came into this next chapter. I am more fired up, more passionate, more ready to go, bigger vision than I've ever had for where we're going with this company. There's an energy going on right now that I think you can just feel. And we're at the beginning of the next great chapter here of ASEA. So wonderful time, wonderful, wonderful time.
Thank you, Alan. And you don't get all those awards for behind your head for slackening off too much. So you've done something right. Thank you so much. You've been captivating and an inspiration to listen to, and look forward to catching up with you really soon. So
yeah, absolutely.
Thanks a lot, Alan.
Thanks, guys. We will see.
Looks like a crown on top of your head.
Yeah, that's right. Strategically placed. Thanks.
Hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Really appreciate you. Thanks.
Cheers. Bye.
Okay, everybody, we're going to go on to some other really cool stuff that we've got.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us for that, because it's not every day that we were able to get Alan Noble and Deni on our webinar, so we're very excited. What we want to do now, and it's really important, I'd love for you to stay definitely on the line. These calls are scheduled to go between an hour and a half, or these webinars. There's some really important people that we need to recognise who are creating absolute magic when it comes to what's happening on the leaderboard and also globally. So the cruise to on the Bahamas, the qualification, as many of you know, was between January 7th and April 28th. And we have Lorraine Bart, who is our newest Diamond Associate in Australia.
Well done, Lorraine.
She has maintained first place right since week 1. So she's pretty much got it in the bag. We're not going to call it until the end of the actual trial period or the contest period, April 28th, but she basically wins $7,750 value suite on this cruise, this Ascent cruise. She's taking her 2 daughters. It'll be an amazing experience. So congratulations to Lorraine. We have Mal Sword, who's a 2nd place winner. There's 10 winners. He's placed 6th or 5th in the 2nd place prize pool right now, which is a $3,900 value. There's 15 winners in 3rd place. We've got Sepp and Jeska, who are the first to qualify at the top of that level. That's $3,400 value. We've got Richard Lee, who's on the line today as well. He's also a 3rd place prize winner right now. There's still a few weeks to go though. Maurizio Munoz. We've got Winnie Wong, gold. She's 15th place overall. Now this is globally, so this is phenomenal. Then we've got Julia Wesley, who's a gold from Sydney. She's in 4th place right now. It's $2,500 value. We've got Hong Zhu, Marika Lowe, and Julie Watts as well, who's in 4th place. So it'll be an exciting cruise for all of you, and we're really excited to have seen your journey. Congratulations. So what we're going to do, I'm not going to read out all of the Director 300s right now, but you can see that these are the Director 300s in the last few weeks who've come through in the team.
So, as you're just putting those up, I'll just mention what I think everybody probably knows what a Director 300 is, but just in case you don't, this is a really important position, because the Director 300 has done 300 points on their left side, 300 points on the right side. Obviously, they're a director, so they've sponsored at least one person on each side personally. And also, this is a key position too as you move up the ranks, is to help people to hit Director 300, because you got to help your team to move up the ranks as well. So congratulations to these Director 300s. It is a very, very important, significant place as you're starting to build your business.
Very exciting. Congratulations, everybody. Director 700s.
And Director 700, same thing. you've obviously become a director, so you qualified on the left and the right by sponsoring at least 2 people, but you built your team to where you have 700 points on your left side, 700 points on your right side in the same, in the same business week. So congratulations to those people that have achieved Director 700 as well.
These are our amazing new bronze executives. We have Denise Humphreys, who's achieved that, Carlos Fuentes and Berta Garcia. We have Tess Energy Foundation. And I know, Richard, are you on the line today?
He is on the line. If you can unmute your line, that'd be great.
Maybe he can't hear us.
Yes, thanks, Bart. Thanks for this.
Hi, Richard. So can you let us know the names of the people in your team who've gone bronze as well?
Okay, bronze is Wang Junkai and Ma Hong. And another 2 Chinese is Zhang Fangfang, Yuan Tai Kuang. That's it.
Beautiful. Now you know why we brought Richard on. You did that perfectly. Thanks so much, Richard. Congratulations.
You should know Chinese.
What's that?
You should know more Chinese.
Not on this list, but there's some more to come. So
Yeah,
don't go anywhere.
So hang on.
Yeah, you did a really beautiful job. Thanks so much. And Richard is in Melbourne. He's gold in ASEA as well. So he's done extremely well expanding across the globe right now. We have some phenomenal silver executives who have rank advanced. We've got Marie Callot along with Wendy Dawson. And we need to congratulate Stevie and Sarah Aquilina from Sydney. New gold executives. Congratulations to those 2. Very deserving.
Yeah, big congratulations.
Along with Julie Watts from up in Bundaberg, I believe. So congratulations, Julie. We've got platinum, a new platinum, Mal Sword from Brisbane. So Mal is a master of this business. He's been a pleasure to work with, and an absolute congratulations and honour. We can't wait to see where you go with this, Mal.
Tremendous leader, Mal. Well
Massive.
done. Congratulations.
And then Lorraine Bavart. She not only is leading the cruise right now in terms of the competition, she's also developed into a diamond executive in the process. So wish we had bells and whistles, but we don't. But congratulations, Lorraine. You're very, very deserving and an inspiration as a single mum to all the single mums out there and all of us. So well done. Okay, emerging leaders. We've got, this is globally, fantastic achievements globally. So week 9, 9th place was Lorraine Bavart. Tied with her was Carmel and Mario Scaringi, also from Melbourne, week 9. Then we've got Henry So for week 10, who was number 2 globally. Sorry, that's your cue, Richard, anyway. So let me jump.
Wang Junkai, number 2, Wang Junkai. Yeah. And my Chinese team Cai Yin as well.
Yeah, they did too.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And there's one more I missed out there, Richard. So.
Zhang Fangfang. Yes.
Perfect.
Another one is Toshiki. Toshiki is my Chinese team as well.
Yep, Toshiki. And then the last one?
Yeah.
The
last one is Cai Yin.
Cai Yin. Congratulations.
Richard, that's so fantastic to see your team moving up the ranks like that. We're so impressed with what you've done, and you're really bringing your team up, and they're hitting the ranks. This is really great stuff. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Our top associate enrollers globally, number 8, Dr. Monica Moritz, and also AutoShip All-Star, so Dr. Monica Moritz there as well. So thank you very much for going through the recognition with us. It's really an important opportunity for people to be recognised. You totally deserve it, and we're very proud of all of you and really excited to see what you'll do next. So let me move on. We're going to transition. Dan, did you have anything that you wanted to add at this stage?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to recognise you guys. Well, we've got so many people on this call, and there's a lot of people on this call that don't realise how much time and effort you guys put in to put these webinars together and emails, guys. So really, really appreciate what you're doing. I'd be a little lost lamb without you guys. Our upline support is just incredible, and I think it's a lesson for everybody on the call to support their team, to be accessible, exactly like we are in our upline with Deni and Alan being on this call. So if everybody becomes a servant leader, as you guys are, we guys are, you'll have a very successful business. Just keep helping your team do whatever it takes and take them to wherever that they want to go. So, finding awesome example of what we should be doing in this business. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dan.
Thanks, Dani.
Really
And
appreciate that.
obviously, you're a pretty amazing example as well. You got a lot of people on that list and that team, so it's really great to be working with you and with everything, with all the team.
It's fun.
A lot of fun. Transitioning across, what we're going to do now is, many of you know the name Jeff Carlisle, and some of us on the line have been doing a 10-week course. We're going to be able to give you a lot more information at the end of the 10 weeks. We're at week 7, I think, today. Long story short, we want to introduce you to Jeff's Quick Start training. This is a training that we're starting to use as a team. It'll help for your new associates to be set up psychologically when they go out into the field. And it's also very duplicatable, very simple, and it's a system that we can repeat and use constantly. So this is what we've started to run with. Some of you are absolutely familiar with it, so it's good to actually hear it again, just simply because I might just make sure everyone's muted right now, just because there's a bit of background noise. So if you could please mute yourself, that'd be great. So yeah, I'll move into that, and as we go through, we'll explain psychologically why it's been set up this way, and for people who've been stuck, or maybe you've had a little bit of rejection out there, it'll make a lot more sense when we go through this training as to how to stay focused, what to focus on, and who you're sorting to look for. So we'll start with the emotional roller coaster.
So, you know, one of the important things, that's a great slide to put up, because just like anything in life, you're going to have some challenges, you're going to have some ups, you're going to have some downs. We all have good days, and where everything goes right. That can be in business, that can go in our relationships, that can go with whatever we're doing. And it's the same thing when you're starting a business. So the idea is you really want to set your new associates up for success. And the idea there is to really have the long-term perspective, to let them know that, hey, there are going to be days that go fantastic. There's going to be some days that may not go as fantastic, and people aren't going to get it. They won't understand, what you've got your hands on. So the goal is that we've got a method of alleviating the emotional roller coaster. And we want to walk through that with you too, so that you can really explain to people to have a long-term perspective. In fact, I remember early on, sometimes in network marketing, the highs can be higher, the lows can be lower. And the thing is, you really want to avoid that emotional roller coaster by having just a really solid business perspective, that that you're in this for the long haul, and it's not, you're not going to ride that based on the highs and the lows of the moment. And if you've got a long-term perspective, and you know that you're in this for the long haul, to build and create the freedom that you desire, get clear on what your why is, then you can get through, just about, you get through anything, really. So when you're part of a team and a bigger picture, and this slide there it is. Okay. So the way that we get through the emotional roller coaster, and to make it very, very simple, is really to just make a very simple analogy that we're sorting. It's a sorting process. We really aren't selling, and we're certainly not convincing. There's 3 types of people. The first type of person is a red apple. That's someone who says yes. Typically, red apples are people that just love to get out and be part of whatever it is. I mean, you could, if a red apple just went to, and you said, hey, I'm going to this restaurant tonight, would you want to join us? I was just there, I just went there yesterday or 2 days ago, but sure, I'll come along. Or, a movie. It's just people that want to engage. They like being around other people. They recognize an opportunity. They're people who are willing to step out and do something a little bit different. They're willing to take a chance. Bottom line, they're people who say yes. Yeah, say, yeah, I want to be a part. I want to try that. Yeah, I want to use the product. Or, yeah, I'd love to be a part of what you're doing. So yeses are obviously what we're looking for. Green apples are simply people they have questions. And we can help people with those questions. But the people that are kind of going through that process. And then
The idea with Green Apples is to direct them to a website, direct them to tools to get their questions answered as well.
Absolutely.
Because ideally we want to be spending 97% of our time looking for and sorting for red apples. And the green apples, of course, they're welcome, absolutely. But in terms of your time, it's better to actually direct them to a third-party tool to get their questions answered as well. If you 100% know the answer to the question at the time, then answer it. Otherwise, if there's more questions to come, time-wise, you need to direct them to a tool to get their questions answered.
Yeah, there can be smart green apples too, and those are the ones who, you know, can kind of have the paralysis of analysis, and those are the people exactly to send them to a website, send them to, you know, ASEAglobal.com, and they can review the science, they can review some videos, but really we just want to keep it as simple as possible. Look for the yeses, and then of course the rotten apples are the people that say no.
And they're not rotten people, just for the idea of the example, they're rotten apples. So it's good to know because they're out there.
Yeah, and it's fun to just kind of put it into perspective. People that will say no. Obviously, when we're doing a presentation, you can even get to the end of the presentation and say, we're looking for, you know, red apples. If you're green apple and you have questions, that's cool. Rotten apples, not a problem. Those, you know, at the very least, everybody needs to be on these products. So a rotten apple can certainly be a customer, and they can certainly refer you to people too. But maybe they're just the kind of people that it doesn't matter how good it is. You know, the answer is just no. They're not people that typically want to try new things. They're maybe you know, just into the skepticism. You can also have rotten apples. They're the ones that will, you know, under the disguise of love, try to save you from doing whatever it is. But it's just people that may not have the vision, may not see what you've got. And so you can really kind of play with it. You can make a little bit of a joke of it. I mean, I've got a brother who's a bit of a rotten apple, and he's, you know, he just doesn't see it, doesn't get it. So how much time do you spend with rotten apples? No time. You know, you can look for referrals, you can help them become a customer, but if they want to do that, we encourage them to do that. But what we want to do is spend 95% of our time looking for red apples.
So in an orchard, there's all kinds of apples, and I know you wanted to use the example of the orchard example.
Yeah, I love this analogy that we've been using, and that's if, for example, there's a big apple orchard, and you told, and I was to tell you that, look, for every red apple that you bring back, you know, you've got an hour, I'll give you $100,000 for every red apple. And so I turn you loose in that apple orchard. How much time would you spend looking for green apples or rotten apples? Zero time, right? You wouldn't be looking at that green apple and beg it to turn red and sit there and spend a lot of time. And you certainly wouldn't be picking up a rotten apple off the ground that's all mushy and it's got worms crawling out of it, and look at that rotten apple and say, please turn into a red apple, please turn into a red apple. You wouldn't do that. You'd leave it behind and you'd go spend all your time looking for red apples. And so the thing we want to do is get really quick on the sorting process and looking for that. So when you're not into a place that's needy, you know, you're literally sorting. People don't need to feel desperate. It's partially a way of posturing yourself too, to really know exactly what you've got your hands on, where you're committed to going, and you're looking to bring people on board with you that you're committed. You know, this is really an amazing place, an amazing journey, that you're looking for a few key people. You're looking for red apples. And so ultimately, the process is very simple. We're finding red apples who help us find other red apples. And our goal is something like this. It's red apples finding red apples who are finding more red apples. So, Deni, you want to elaborate on that at all?
Yeah, I go back to the gift that you guys handed me, which was the most precious gift I've ever received in my entire life. So all of us on this call has received this gift. Now it's up to us what to do with it. So red apples are the ones that grab that gift and pull the wrapping off as quickly as possible. And they want to know what's in that gift, and they want to jump. It's a vehicle to wherever they want to go. They jump in that vehicle with you. They're off and running, and you spend 95% of your time with those red apples. The green apples are handed the gift, and they open it up slowly, and they have a bit of a peek, but they're the ones that have the queries and questions, and they're the procrastinators. So we don't spend much time with those people. And the rotten apples just don't take the gift at all. They don't accept the gift. So we need to recognize as quickly as possible what a red apple is, a green apple, and a rotten apple. If you go back to the roller coaster ride after somebody makes a decision where they want to take this, Bart got in really early with Mel Sword and myself, because when we were over in Utah, obviously we were exposed to ASEA, but Bart intentionally took us to this theme park and took us onto a roller coaster, getting us ready for our ASEA journey. So he physically took us to this roller coaster. I mean, that is life. That is everybody's life, what you can see on the screen. And, it's exactly the same in building a network marketing business, building an ASEA business. So it's just a matter of, pushing those lows aside and pushing through them, and literally getting up the next day and building this business like you're in survival mode, like you need to put food on the table, doing whatever it takes to get to those highs and maintain those highs in the business. So red apples, green apples, rotten apples, very important to recognize very quickly, so you don't waste any time with anybody who's not going to take it anywhere. You want to make sure that your activity, your daily activity with these people are income generating activity. And if you recognize that it's not, you're just busy and you're not doing anything or going anywhere, so it's not productive time. So you just need to move on to the next thing immediately, to recognize that you are wasting your time and their time, and get into that income generating activity. I'm not shy about talking about income generating activity these days, because as we know, what we earn is just a reflection of the people we're helping. So guys, get out there and make as much money as you can and get into that income generating activity, and don't get stuck in the rut of being busy without being productive.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes I love what you said, being busy instead of being productive. And I think it's a trap that so many people get into in their business. And it's a trap that we can get into, working with people who are being busy but not being productive. And so really, in a way, they're green apples. We need to find people who are willing to pick up the phone, set up the meetings, talk with people, and get in front of people, because, listening to calls, listening to videos, just organizing our desk and our planner doesn't really do it. It's really all about those activities of getting in front of people. Deni Robinson talked about working that in depth with her people. And so that's really the trick with the red apples, is get underneath the people. You want to look at those people as being a doorway into meeting and working with other people. And that next person is another doorway and another doorway. And we can blow this thing up. We can create so much more momentum by working in depth with our and being a leader. And that's really what being a leader is just taking control and working with your team in depth.
Yeah, and we've got to create it. We can't just sit back and think that somebody's got to do it. We need to get back into our teams. We need to get into our weaker leg, and we need to find out who's got the contacts to be able to build their business, which is going to build yours. There are so many people in our businesses that have a lot of contacts and influential contacts. So pick up the phone, get onto the people who have a bit of nous, who are entrepreneurs, who may have contacts, and ask them for their lists. Even if they've been in the business for a fair while, extract a list out of them, create 2 leaders under them, and give them an excuse to engage and build this business.
That's absolutely true. In fact, start asking them some questions. Who do you know who's look for the people who are influential. Look for the people who have influence. Quite often it's, for all of us, it's easy to talk to people that we think that we have influence over. In other words, socioeconomically, you might say. But if we look for the people who really have some contacts, have some leads, and help your new people to find those. Who do you know who's really successful? Who do you know who who could put 30 people in a room in 48 hours? Who do you know who's in the real estate business? Who do you know that just start asking some questions so that you can get into those people's key people and work with them to build that. So.
Yeah, as Deni said, get back into your team and find out who wants to play, who wants to do this. Mm-hmm. It doesn't take much to create a big business or bring a weak leg to a strong leg within a short period of time if you as leaders just get out there and create it. Don't wait, don't sit on your hands.
So along that note, if you're ready to play and say, hey, I want to do this, get with your successful upline and say, hey, I'm in and I'm playing full on, and with your team, really lock in that commitment with them. Say, look, I'm focusing. I'm going to put my time, my effort, my attention with the people who really want to run, who are willing to do what it takes. And then that's where you know you to focus your team. Stealing something that Deni Robinson used. She runs with the runners, walks with the walkers, and stops with the stoppers. And it's interesting because the people who show up, you know, every time are the ones that are moving up and ranking, advancing, and seeing the getting the runs on the board and winning the cruises, winning the the top achievement. You know, seeing the residual income build in their wallet. So showing up is the first key, and then playing the game, play full on, just like Deni and Ellen Noble shared with us how to do it.
You know, somebody who just comes on board now, a new associate in the business with 4 weeks of the Bahamas the cruise qualification period left, still can get an invite. So anybody who's a lot further than that can also get not only an invite, but probably even win the cruise or part of it. So 4 weeks to go, guys. Don't sit on your hands. Go and create it and get as many of your team to achieve that as possible.
Thanks, Dan. And talking about the cruise, Sip and Yesko informed me that they're in second prize winning pool right now. They've moved up to second place, so that's really exciting for them. So congratulations, Sip and Yesko. And just to wrap up, because it's really important whilst we're all on the line to know what's coming up in terms of what events to promote. And also there's a team promotion that ourselves, Dan and Jeff and Akiko Wood have pulled together, Dan's brainchild. So he'll run through that. But just to summarise what we just did with the roller coaster, etc., with the apples, you're going to be seeing that a lot, because that's a system we're using after every presentation to get people psychologically prepared to go out and talk to others. And it's like that Dan and Bart have said, it's fun. It's fun to get together and say, I had 3 rotten apples this week, and chat about it. So you'll see more of that, and that's the reason why.
Yeah, rotten apples is just make a joke out of it. It doesn't matter. It's not a personal rejection. It's just, hey, it's a no. We get some no's, we get some yeses, and you know, you might have some rotten apples. They're the ones that try to steal your dreams, and just make a joke out of it. It's no big deal. It's just really makes a game out of it.
So Dan, do you mind just quickly running through this for us so that people are aware of the promotion we've had running for a little while?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great internal promotion that we've put on for anybody who rank advances. And we've decided to run this for another month, so till the end of April. So there's plenty of time to earn plenty of free products. So anybody that achieves direct to 300 over the next 4 weeks will earn a tube of Renew 28. Direct to 700, 2 tubes of Renew 28. And then bronze through to platinum, a 5-pack for every time you rank advance. So bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. Guys, there's an opportunity for you and your teams to earn a lot of free product here. I know that Richard's team down in Melbourne, they're going crazy with this. They're rank advancing left, right, and centre. It's a little carrot that we're dangling in front of your nose to go for just something else on top of the cruise. There's always great incentives the companies have, but I think it's important that we put on some internal ones as well. Anybody that hasn't ranked or does rank advance to their lifetime executive rank that haven't hit it in the past month as well will also receive a 5-pack of Renew Advanced skin and body care kit. Oh yeah, of course. And then we need a copy of the evidence. So just a snapshot of your back office, and send that to any of your diamond leaders, and we'll make sure we get that product to you somehow. So at the moment, I'm sending it to Lorene down there for her whole team in Melbourne. I am going to Queensland to do a tour, which starts Monday, Brisbane, Toowoomba, Bundaberg, Gladstone, Mount Isa. So I will be taking product to the team up there for anybody that's achieved up there. And I'll pass back to you guys to mention the rest of the events coming up.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks.
So one thing that you all need to be aware of, if you haven't already subscribed to our newsletter, that's where all the team information gets updated and disseminated to you. You can also find events on the RTBG/events website, which is our very basic website that has the events listed there. We are very excited to have Dr. David Silverman coming to Sydney. It's $15 a ticket, right down the Eventbrite link. It's at North's Club. And it's from 9:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. Dan, did you want to expand on Dr. Silverman, because we've been dealing with him directly on this?
Yeah, I just want to clarify so no one's disappointed. I mean, it was fantastic that he reached out and said, hey, I haven't got a team in Australia, but I'm happy to help. He's here for 5 days in Sydney. spending time with his daughter that's going to the University of New South Wales, Flory. So Wendy and David are spending time with her. So this is a holiday and spending time with her. So just so no one's disappointed, he is doing the Discover ASEA presentation in the morning. So it's a 9 for 9:30 start, and he'll go through till 11 a.m. And then we've got a half an hour break, and you guys will come back in the afternoon for a little bit of team training, fast start, recognition, whatever we put on. I know Bart and Melissa's heading down, and Mal Sword and his team, Lorene's heading up. There's people coming from all over Australia because David Silverman has been in the business for a long time. He's a triple diamond. It's fantastic with what he's come out with, the tools to help us with building our business. So it'd be worthwhile seeing him. I don't know how ticket sales are going. I'm sure it's going to be sold out. I think there's only 150 spots. So get in really fast. It's $15 for associates. It's 20 at the door, right? $20 at the door, just to let you know. So get onto Eventbrite because we do have to cover costs on the day, but obviously guests are free.
And on that day, we're going to be going over some really great stuff that we've been learning on the training calls that we've been doing as well. So it will absolutely be well worth the time and effort to get there, even if you need to get on a plane and fly down. Yeah, definitely consider it a fly-in and make it an event.
We're just over 6 weeks away from Chuck and Tammy Gates coming out. They're Ambassador Double Diamonds. They're also Ed's sponsors. We've got Ed on the line today. So here are their events, locations also in the New Zealand. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time going into it, but it's exciting because they're going to quite a few places. And if you've got anyone in that area or within 3 hours drive of that area, they really need to be there to see the big picture of what's happening with ASEA right now. And after listening to Deni and also to Alan, we are at the cusp of some critical mass coming our way once we start to move toward and hit the 100 million per year US dollars with ASEA. So these events are absolutely critical to building our business and creating momentum needed to capitalize on that critical mass. Also, convention, keep it in your mind. It's September 27th. Catch up with Alan Noble there, Deni Robinson, a lot of the diamonds, meet the founders. We're absolutely going. We wouldn't miss this event. So all details are on the ASEAglobal.com website.
Brand new office that's being built right now. And the other thing I might point out is if you've got someone that's brand new in the business or you're brand new in the business in the first 90 days, you can lock in discounted tickets as well. So they didn't want to disincentivize someone that had just come in because they did have some early ticket prices. You can take advantage of that. So if you get your new person in and they really want to run with this, definitely getting to a major corporate event is an important thing to do.
So we've gone a little over time. I want to thank you all for being on today. It was certainly worth it to hear extra from Alan Noble, particularly when it came to, I had said to them 20 minutes, so he definitely went over that, which I'm so grateful for. Thank you so much for being on today's webinar. Our next team training webinar is Friday, May 5th or Saturday, May 6th for Australia and New Zealanders. Ed, if you're still on the line, did you have any words of wisdom? Do you want to close out the call at all? You're still here.
I appreciate the chance just to kind of sit here and listen to everything that I've heard from Deni and from Alan, and I echo everything that Deni said about your leadership down there. You guys are just amazing. You know, I made a couple notes actually. I was listening to this, and I listened to one of the Triple Diamonds recently was talking with some of our folks, and here's how they kind of prioritized who you ought to consider calling about this opportunity. And those of you that are involved in the coaching program, I'm sure this will ring a bell with you as well. But this is all hypothetical. Let's just say this is a hypothetical situation. So nobody take me literally here on parts of this. But let's just say you had insider information, inside information in a company that was about to go public. It was going to go public in 2 months, hypothetically. But you found out that the company was 7 to 8 years old. They were on the threshold of hitting $100 million a year, which everybody says is going to be the threshold of momentum. They had patented technology that nobody else had. They were debt-free, and they were positioning to lay the infrastructure to be a billion dollar a year company. And they're going public in 2 months. Who would you call? Who would you call to get in on that deal? And how aggressively would you put your confidence in that company at play in the marketplace? You would call everybody that you knew, and you would tell them, go mortgage your house and put the money in the market here. That's not obviously going to happen. We're not going public, but that's the kind of prioritization in terms of who you ought to be calling about this opportunity, because we're right there. You know, today's kind of an anniversary for me in some respects. We all talk about setbacks and comebacks. It was 3 years ago today, April 1st for you. It's not quite April 1st over here yet where I am. I think I've got an hour and a half or so left on the East Coast. But it's the anniversary of me getting my termination letter hand delivered to me by FedEx. And I carry it around in a folder over here. I carry it around in a folder. It came on April Fool's Day. And in this folder, I also keep the letter of congratulations from ASEA about going diamond. And I make that termination letter sleep next to this diamond letter in this envelope all the time. He has to face it, look at it every single day. And that's my setback and my comeback story for April 1st. And finally, just to wrap it up, I have a recommendation for all you apple orchard people talking about rotten apples, green apples, red apples. I have a recommendation for what to do with rotten apples. Collect them and put them in a barrel, let them ferment. We're going to make some apple cider wine, and that's what we sip at Diamond Summit, where we're sitting back enjoying the scenery, and we're saying to one another, I wonder what everybody who said no is doing right now. That's what we're going to do with rotten apples. So
Thank you
there
so
you go.
much, Ed. We couldn't have finished this webinar without you being on there, so thank you for wrapping up so much. Please give our love to Rebecca, and thank you again to everyone for being on the line today.
I'll do it. She actually just called me, so you can tell her tell her hello.
Hey, Rebecca.
Hello,
I
Rebecca.
need to see your beautiful face on the screen again soon.
I'd like to say a big thank you to all the panelists that we have on the call today too. We jumped into it straight away with Deni Robinson just because of her time, but definitely want to thank everybody that's been on as panelists. John and Alan and Sandra, Danny, Sepp and Jeska, Mel, Daya, Ed, Richard Lee, and Julie Watts. I think we may have had a couple other ones that may have jumped off. So thank you again, everybody. Appreciate your time. Let's go and make big things happen.
Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, Bart and
Thank
Melissa.
you.
See you, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye. You too.
Thanks, Bart and Melissa. Thank you.
See you later. Hope your cough gets better soon, Bart.
Thank you. Thanks.
My what?
That was a terrible, that was a terrible cough you had earlier on. I hope it gets better soon.
We've got to thank our
We'll see a bunch of you on the cruise. Looking forward to the cruise with a whole bunch of you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.